Welcome to Frictionless Commerce, the show for distribution and manufacturing leaders who need digital commerce to deliver on the promise. I'm your host, Matt Johnson. In each episode, we go behind the walls into the data, systems, and processes that drive success. No silver bullets, no hype. I'm here to bring clarity to digital leaders about how transformation works across the supply chain. In today's episode, we're talking about how most organizations don't have a data problem, they have a data governance problem. Let's dive in. You know, one of the most common things I hear from leaders in distribution and manufacturing and heads of data management and e-commerce is this: we need better data. And I find that interesting because almost none of them actually lack data. They're swimming in it, right? ERP data, supplier data, product data, customer data. So the frustration isn't really around scarcity. It's about inconsistency. Leaders don't trust what they're seeing. Customers don't trust what they're buying. Teams will argue over whose data is the authority. Reporting will be conflicted, and systems are disagreeing with each other. Systems are not connected. There are silos, not just organizationally, but technologically. And so the instinctive response here is to go get more data, or to clean the data that we already have, or to go purchase a new tool, or to analyze it, or to enrich it. But today I want to suggest something that may feel a bit uncomfortable at first, and that is this: that the real problem isn't data quality or quantity, it's data governance. So let's talk about why data governance often gets ignored. Well, data governance sounds boring, right? And that's because it actually is. This is not sexy stuff. This is the hard work that happens behind the scenes, right? This is about ownership and definitions and process and accountability. It's not about flashy dashboards or analytics or customer-facing experiences. This is the hard stuff, right? It answers questions that don't usually get asked, and that is, who owns the data, right? What does correct or good enough actually mean? Which system is authoritative? Which is the golden record? And what happens when things are off track? Many organizations struggle with this, and no one seems to be able to answer those questions clearly. So what happens, right? What happens is survival. We have to find a way, right? So teams will compensate, and the way that they do this is primarily they'll create workarounds, they'll maintain shadow spreadsheets, they will fix things locally just to get through the day. And this is why so many digital initiatives stall out. You cannot automate what you haven't agreed on. You cannot optimize what you don't trust. So we want to implement e-commerce tools, customer experience, AI, analytics, order automation tools. But at the end of the day, if we don't fix the foundation, these tools really do nothing better than exposing our data governance issues. So when leaders say that the data is bad, what they actually mean is this: we never decided how this data should be governed, and now it's costing us. We do not understand what good data processes look like, and we are experiencing the downstream effects of not having accurate data. All right, so this is a problem. You probably already know this, but what can we do about it? Okay, so I would suggest starting here. Number one is to reframe the problem. I'll talk about redirecting our attention to what really matters, and then the discipline of restraining our actions. All right, so takeaway number one. First of all, we need to stop framing this as a data quality problem. Okay, quality is subjective. Like what I call quality, or what my customer thinks is quality, or what my supplier thinks is quality, can be three completely different things, right? What sales views as quality and what IT views as quality may be miles and miles apart. Okay, so quality is just a symptom, right? Data governance is actually the root cause. So when we have symptoms in almost every other area of life, we tend to address the symptom, right? We want a medication, we want a painkiller to solve the downstream issue. But what we really need to do if we're going to prevent this from happening in the future is to address the foundational cause, the root of the issue. Until ownership, until definitions and accountability are clear, there is no amount of cleansing or tooling that will actually create trust. And trust is the foundation of a great experience. So consider reframing the question, right? Take it from how do we fix the data? That's symptom, that's top level, to who's responsible for this data being right. That's foundational. That's the root cause. Takeaway number two is to redirect our attention. What are we looking at, right? We need to start paying attention to where teams are actually disagreeing about the truth. When two departments bring different data into the same meeting, that's not a reporting issue. That's a data governance signal. And I will say this friction, this disagreement is not bad. One of my favorite books, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, talks about, the lack of friction, the lack of conflict in an organization, which can be extremely unhealthy. So in other words, if there are data disagreements that are happening, but they're never spoken about, that's dysfunction, right? So when we see that, applaud it, right? Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for calling that out. Those moments, like I said, are really diagnostic gold because they're going to show us exactly where the alignment is missing, right? And where the friction is being silently accepted. One of my favorite leadership maxims that I used to use in my business was this: silence is acceptance. Okay. I want you to speak up. I want you to tell me where something is broken. Don't just sweep it under the rug. Bring it to the light so that we can fix it, so that we can clean it, and so that we can move forward in a better way. All right. And then finally, takeaway number 3 is to restrain action. This is particularly difficult because we feel pressure from all types of different departments. We feel pressure from leadership to achieve digital commerce results. We feel pressure from different leaders who are going to be asking us for quick fixes. But I would just encourage us to not rush into developing advanced analytics tools or data enrichment tools or AI powered insights until the governance issue is addressed. Because why, right? Because these tools are going to just create more confusion, right? They're going to overwhelm you with all of the brokenness of your data management processes. Okay. And not only that, but we also have the tendency to want to skip to solving the problem, maybe using data enrichment tools or maybe using better search functionality on our website or something like that. But that again is going to be a poor experience if the data foundation is not in place. And therefore, we're not going to get the return on the investment. So don't skip ahead. Stay here. Stay in the data governance mode. Think about, delaying sophistication, delaying innovative implementation efforts until responsibility is really explicitly communicated. And that restraint alone will save you countless dollars of investment in software and services and will save your team so much time. So just to wrap up and summarize, data doesn't fail organization. Avoidance does. Governance feels slow because it forces alignment, but alignment is what makes everything flow faster. So slow down to go faster. That is the big takeaway for today. All right. In the next episode, we're going to talk about why so many organizations misunderstand what readiness actually means when it comes to digital transformation and AI initiatives, and why waiting for the perfect conditions is usually the wrong move. If this episode felt uncomfortably accurate, I would say that's a good sign. It means you are diagnosing the right problem. So I hope this episode helped you think more about the importance of data governance. And if you found this useful, please subscribe, share it with a colleague, someone who's wrestling with the same challenges. My goal in this podcast is simple, and that is to help leaders feel less alone and more clear about what actually matters. Digital commerce isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things in the right order, the right way. And if today's conversation struck a chord and you'd like to talk through it with someone, my data team and I work on this kind of stuff every day, and we're always happy to connect. So you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can visit our website to book some time. Clarity creates momentum. This is Frictionless Commerce.